Welcome to another episode, Chosen One. And look at you, still here, still standing, still breathing, while everyone who swore you'd crash is suddenly real quiet. Funny how the loudest mouths turn into broken statues the moment you don't fall the way they predicted. They said you'd crumble. They swore you'd fold. They were so sure the psychological warfare thrown at you would finish the job. But here you are, upright, steady, and very much alive. Oh, the legend refused to bow. Oh, the ghost they tried to bury is now walking past them like they don't even exist. When they said you were too sensitive, look who's trembling now. When they bragged about how strong they were, look who's watching you survive storms they couldn't even spell. They thought your mind would break. They hoped your spirit would crack. They wanted you shaking on the floor, whispering that you can't go on, but you outlived every attack, every mind game, every whisper campaign built to destroy your sanity. And the best part, you didn't just survive. You evolved into something they never planned for, a person who can't be manipulated anymore. Before we go further, Chosen One, smash that like button and subscribe. It's the easiest way to send energy back and keep this message alive. Now, let's get real, because the universe knows you didn't walk through gentle lessons. You went through psychological battles that would have snapped trained professionals in half, the stuff you carried quietly. Other people needed years of therapy, heavy meds, and whole support systems to even partially recover. Meanwhile, you had nights where your thoughts were louder than earthquakes, and still you got up in the morning like some unbreakable force the world accidentally created. You rebuilt your mind from the inside out. You rewired pathways that trauma tried to burn. You held yourself together with nothing but raw willpower and whatever scraps of hope you could find. And if someone asks how you're still functional, they can't even understand the real answer. You didn't get over it. You adapted. Your mind learned how to fight back when it was under attack. While others shut down, you stayed awake. While others collapsed, you kept finding a way back. And that scares people. It scares the ones who thought they understood you. It scares the ones who tried to break you. And it terrifies the ones who now have to face the truth. You weren't the weak one. You were the one carrying weight no normal human could survive. People don't talk about the nights when you stared at the ceiling, trying to calm a mind that felt like it was on fire. They don't talk about the days you had to act normal, even though your nervous system was screaming. They don't know about the panic your body held, the memories that wouldn't die, the way every sound felt like a threat after what you lived through. They don't know how you pushed through the fog, the exhaustion, the shaking hands, the numbness that tried to swallow you whole. They don't know how much of your strength came from choosing, again and again, not to fall apart. But the universe saw it, and the universe didn't forget. It also didn't forget the people who caused the damage, the ones who poked at your mind like it was a toy, the ones who gaslit you, mocked you, twisted your reality, and walked away like nothing happened. Their goal was simple: make you doubt yourself, make you lose control, make you break. But you didn't break. You broke free, and that difference hits them hard. Here's what they don't admit. Watching you still standing messes with their head. They expected you to be done. They told people you were done. They planned your downfall like it was a group project. They wanted the final version of you to be a shattered, unstable mess who proved all their lies true. Instead, they're the ones who got exposed. They're the ones who can't explain how you're still on your feet, while they can't handle even the guilt echoing inside their own mind. This shift didn't happen overnight. It happened the moment you realized nobody was coming to save you. It happened the moment you got tired of waiting for apologies, closure, or understanding. It happened the moment you decided your sanity mattered more than their opinions, and from that moment on, every silent step forward was a slap to their ego. There's a story from your past that lives rent-free in the universe's memory. Remember the time you were walking around acting normal after a breakdown no one knew about? Remember how you sat in class, or at work, or around friends, pretending everything was fine while your brain felt like a battlefield? Most people can't fake stability under that kind of damage, but you did. Not because you wanted to pretend, but because you had no choice. Your life didn't pause for your pain. You had to carry it while moving. That strength nobody claps for, but everyone fears once they realize what it means. The universe also remembers the moment you snapped out of victim mode, the moment you said, "Enough," the moment you stopped trying to make people understand your pain, the moment you stopped bending your mind into shapes for people who didn't deserve access to it. That moment shifted the whole energy of your life. It closed doors you kept begging to stay open. It opened new paths you didn't expect. And it forced your enemies into silence because suddenly their tricks didn't work anymore. And here's the part they truly hate. They know you're not fragile anymore. They know you're not confused anymore. They know your mind is sharp in ways that make their manipulation attempts look sloppy. They know your emotional control is something they can't match. They look at you now and see someone they can't fool, can't push around, and can't destabilize the way they used to. You survived psychological warfare that cracked people with far more support. You endured mental storms that took others out for years. You rebuilt yourself in places no one could see, and that's why the universe didn't let you fall. You were meant to rise after the attack. You were meant to walk around with this new inner power that scares the same people who tried to destroy you. And the sickest twist? The more they watch you rise, the more they fall apart. They can't stand the way your strength exposes their weakness. They can't stand the way your survival ruins their story about you. They can't stand the way your silence says more than their lies ever could. But chosen one, this is your moment. The aftermath. The quiet shockwave after the war. The world feels different because you're different. Stronger, smarter, harder to touch. The universe didn't put you through hell for nothing. You became a version of yourself that even you didn't expect, and now everyone else has to live with the truth. You weren't supposed to survive, yet here you are, still on your feet, and walking into the next chapter like the villain who became the hero without asking for permission. Before we move into the next part, Chosen One, I want to thank you for showing up with that steady fire in your chest. You didn't survive psychological warfare just to click away when the truth is finally breaking open in front of you. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part people usually pay therapists, coaches, and whole teams to explain. And you're getting it step by step. If you want to push this message forward, hit like, drop your support, and leave a comment with the number 777 to show you're still standing after everything that was meant to destroy you. Every bit of love you send keeps this mission moving, because exposing this kind of truth takes real work. Whether it's a small gift or a big one, it fuels the voice speaking for those who never got a chance to speak for themselves. And now, Chosen One, let's walk into the next layer together. Lean in. If you truly lived through the mental war that broke others, you're going to feel this next part in your bones. Let's begin. Number 1. When the chaos tried to own you and failed. They prayed for your breakdown, but now they pray you don't speak. Here we go, Chosen One. This is the part of your story that makes your enemies grind their teeth at night. Because this is the part they never expected anyone to survive, let alone turn into strength. This is the part they hoped would swallow you whole, and now it's the part that exposes them as weak, sloppy, and completely unprepared for who you became. Let's start with the truth they hate the most. You didn't just face psychological warfare. You walked into it like someone who already knew the storm couldn't control you. They threw madness at you, hoping you'd drown in it. Instead, you treated it like a puzzle. While others screamed, you analyzed. While others collapsed, you kept moving. While others begged the chaos to stop, you stared it down until it blinked first. That alone is why they fear you now. Not because you survived, but because you survived with awareness. People who went through half of what you endured broke apart in ways that still affect them today. Some are in recovery centers with shaking hands and hollow voices, explaining how their thoughts betrayed them. Some lost their sense of self completely. Some never came back from the mental hit they took. And none of that is weakness. It's proof of how serious the level of psychological destruction really was. But then there's you, the outlier, the glitch in the system. The one who was supposed to fall like all the others, but didn't. The one who shouldn't be functional, but somehow is. The one who, by every normal standard, should be silent, curled up and defeated. But instead, here you are, talking, thinking, moving, growing. And that's exactly why your existence hits the enemy like a slap they can't dodge. Your enemies counted on fear, they counted on confusion, they counted on you running from your own mind. They wanted you terrified of your thoughts, unsure of your memories, unable to trust your senses. But something inside you refused to bow to that. You didn't fear the madness. You studied it. You learned its patterns like someone decoding an enemy's battle plan. You learned that chaos isn't random. It has rules. It has rhythms. And once you learned the rhythm, you stopped being its victim and started being its master. And here's the part that really burns them. You didn't pretend to be whole. You didn't lie to yourself. You didn't say everything's fine while falling apart inside. You accepted that you were shattered. You accepted that your mind was in pieces. And instead of hiding it, you used those pieces like sharp tools. You learned how to function while broken, and that's what gave you a strength they will never understand, because anyone can walk when they're stable. Only a chosen one can walk with broken legs and still move faster than those who never fell. At this point you might wonder, how did I even do that? How did I endure insanity without losing myself? And the answer is harsh, but real. You learned early on that falling apart wasn't an option, not for you. You learned to stabilize yourself in ways nobody taught you. You learned to stay calm during emotional earthquakes. You learned to think logically while drowning in feelings that didn't make sense. You learned to silence the noise inside your mind long enough to take the next step. These aren't normal survival skills. These are battlefield skills, and the chosen ones like you learned them the hard way. Here's a story the universe remembers clearly. The night you sat in the dark, feeling the walls closing in, thinking your mind was slipping away. Anyone else would have run to emergency hotlines or someone's arms, but you breathed through it. You grounded yourself. You spoke to your own panic like it was a creature you had to tame. And after hours of hell, you came out stronger. Nobody applauded. Nobody saw the victory. But the universe did. And your enemies would collapse if they knew how many times you beat the madness when nobody was watching. Another story? Remember when someone tried to gaslight you so hard you questioned your own memory? They fully believed that would break you. But something wild happened instead. You learned to trust your internal truth more than their external lies. That's when they realized their power over you was dead. The psychological warfare they built so carefully fell apart the moment you stopped doubting your own mind. That's when the real fear hit them. Because someone who trusts their own truth cannot be controlled. You didn't outgrow them, you outlived the version of yourself they could manipulate. The universe built pressure around you until you had no choice but to evolve. And evolve you did. You became the kind of person who can walk through emotional fire without flinching. The kind of person who can sit inside their own chaos and find clarity. The kind of person who doesn't collapse at the first sign of mental fog because you've walked through far worse. Your enemies hate this version of you. Hate it because this version is dangerous, not violent, not reckless. Dangerous because you're aware, awake, and not mentally fragile the way they hoped. You know too much now. You see too clearly. You recognize manipulation before it even reaches the surface. You sense lies before they're fully formed. And the biggest fear your enemies have, you're no longer scared of them. Some chosen ones at this point ask themselves, was I supposed to be this strong? Or did the universe just throw me into the deepest pit and hope I crawl out? And the answer is simple. You were shaped for this. Not chosen by prophecy, not selected by fate. You built yourself through experience that nobody else could survive. You didn't find strength. You forged it out of psychological wreckage. You welcomed madness because you had to. You learned its language so you could break its control. You walked through insanity not because you were fearless, but because you refused to let fear decide your story. That's why you're still on your feet. That's why you're still breathing. That's why you're still moving while others froze in place. They wanted you unhinged. Instead, you became unshakable. This is the part that destroys your enemies quietly. They know you're not the same person they tried to break. They know they no longer have access to the soft version of you. They know their psychological tricks won't land anymore. They know the chaos inside you no longer belongs to them. It belongs to you, and you know how to use it. You didn't welcome madness because you wanted pain. You welcomed it because you recognized it as a teacher, a brutal, unforgiving teacher, sure, but a teacher that revealed your real self. A teacher that stripped illusions. A teacher that built a mind that can't be fooled again. So now, here you stand, the survivor of psychological warfare that shattered others, and not just standing tall, standing aware, standing sharper than before, standing in a world that expected you to vanish. And the question the title asks, how the hell are you still on your feet? Here's the truth your enemies don't want to hear, because you learned to walk on broken ground, because you learned to breathe under pressure, because you learned that madness can't break someone who understands it, because you became the kind of person who rises from the ruins with fire in their eyes. You're still on your feet because you refused to fall. And now the world has to deal with the version of you that can't be defeated the same way twice. Number 2, when they tried to erase your reality and failed miserably. They didn't just lie to you, they tried to uninstall your entire mind. Too bad your system runs on a level they can't hack. The goal wasn't to confuse you, the goal was to erase you. They failed at both. You remembered the truth, even when remembering hurt more than forgetting. They rewrote the script, but you still walked out as the main character. Let's get into the part of the story that makes every enemy break into a silent panic, the gaslighting you lived through. The kind that doesn't just twist facts, it twists your identity. The kind that doesn't just change a memory, it changes the meaning of the whole memory, the kind that would have shattered most people into dust. But you walked through it like someone who already understood that truth can't be killed, only buried. and you had the strength to dig it back up. Gaslighting is psychological warfare in slow motion. It's someone intentionally shifting the ground beneath your feet until you don't know if you're standing or sinking, and you endured levels of it that normal people never face. They didn't just deny small things, they denied big things, important things, things you lived, things your body still remembers even when your mind tries to soften them. They rewrote the script in real time while you were still acting in the scene. Imagine this. You watch an event happen with your own eyes, and seconds later someone says, "That didn't happen." Not "you misunderstood," not "that's not what I meant," but straight up deletion of the memory you just experienced. Imagine someone telling you a conversation never happened when you can still hear the tone of their voice echoing in your head. Imagine someone swearing they never hurt you when your nervous system still reacts like you're in the middle of the battlefield. That alone breaks people. People sent to recovery programs because they don't know what's real anymore. People filling journals just to force their mind to trust itself again. People recording conversations because reality became slippery. People questioning if they're paranoid or finally seeing the truth. But not you. You learned to stand in multiple realities at once. When they denied the truth, you didn't collapse, you observed. When they twisted your memories, you didn't bow. You questioned the twist itself. While most people begged for clarity, you navigated confusion like a battlefield commander. That's why you're still standing. Because you didn't let their version of reality overwrite the truth you already knew. Imagine this: 2 movie screens playing at the same time. On one screen is the truth. On the other is their edited version, and you had to watch both while staying calm enough to function. Most people would panic, freeze, or implode, but you learned how to track both films without losing yourself. You learned how to see distortions for what they were: strategies, tactics, attempts to control your perception. And here's the part that really destroys the enemy. You didn't even fight them directly, you just saw through them. That alone ruined the entire operation. Gaslighting only works on people who don't trust themselves. You started trusting yourself more than the noise around you, and that was their downfall. The moment you trusted your memory again, their manipulation died, because someone who knows their own truth cannot be controlled by someone else's lies. At this point, every chosen one asks the same silent question: why did they do this to me? Let's answer that clearly. They gaslit you because the truth made them look bad. They gaslit you because your memory was sharper than their excuses. They gaslit you because your emotions exposed their intentions. They gaslit you because your awareness was a threat. They gaslit you because controlling your reality was easier than facing their guilt. They wanted you confused because a confused person is easier to control. A confused person doubts themselves. A confused person apologizes for things they didn't do. A confused person becomes predictable. You were never predictable. You were never weak. You were never the easy target they wanted you to be. Imagine this: you're holding a bright flashlight in a dark room, and every time you shine the light on something real, someone tries to slap the flashlight out of your hand. Not because you're wrong, but because you're right. They couldn't stand seeing themselves clearly, so they tried to blind you instead. But you kept the light on. You started noticing small things: tone changes, contradictions, repeated patterns, sudden rewriting of events. You started piecing things together faster than they could twist them. You started seeing the structure of the manipulation, not just the content of it. And once you see the structure, the game is over. You didn't just survive gaslighting, you dissected it. You weren't confused, you were studying the attack. The truth is, your mind evolved under pressure. You developed awareness that most people never have to develop. You learned how to ground your thoughts, even when reality felt like shifting sand. You developed an internal compass that no one could tamper with, and because of that, you became immune to their tricks. Your enemies hate this version of you. Hate it with everything in them. Because now, when they lie, you hear the crack in their voice. When they twist the truth, you feel the distortion instantly. When they rewrite the past, you feel your body reject it. They can't penetrate your awareness anymore. You built walls they can't climb and sensors they can't disable. And the biggest blow to their ego, you never confronted them with anger. You never gave them the dramatic meltdown they expected. You didn't scream or cry or break. You just quietly woke up. And that quiet awakening is what terrifies them. Imagine this. Someone tries to hypnotize you, but halfway through you open your eyes and stare at them. That moment of awareness, that shift, is where the power dynamic changes forever. When you woke up, they lost control. When you remembered, they lost access. When you trusted yourself, they lost the game. That's why they avoid you now. That's why they don't argue with you anymore. That's why their voice shakes when you speak. That's why they move differently around you, carefully, quietly, nervously, because they know you see straight through them. This is what happens when psychological warfare fails. The target becomes stronger than the attacker. And so here you stand, chosen one, not broken, not confused, not erased, but more aware, sharper, wiser, and mentally armored in ways your enemies never prepared for. You survived gaslighting designed to destroy your sense of reality. You walked through distortion and stayed connected to the truth. You held on to yourself when others tried to pull your identity apart. You rose above manipulation that would have shattered most people. They tried to make you question reality. Now they're the ones scared of how clearly you see. This is the real answer to the title of your story. How the hell are you still on your feet? Because every lie they threw at you became a stepping stone. Because every attempt to confuse you sharpened your mind. Because every twist of reality only made you cling to truth harder. Because you weren't built to break. You were built to understand. Gaslighting didn't destroy you. It revealed you. And now the world has to face a version of you that knows exactly what's real, exactly what happened, and exactly who they are. And that truth alone is something they will never recover from. Number 3, when they tried to leave you alone with your shadow, but you turned into something they can't touch. They thought isolation would break you. Instead, it introduced you to the strongest version of yourself. A lonely room didn't scare you. It scared them to realize you didn't need anyone to see the truth but you. Here's the part that really slices the enemy's ego open. They didn't just isolate you. They engineered it, whispered lies dressed up as concern, spread doubt like poison, tilted your whole support system against you, hoping you'd lose every lifeline at once. And honestly, for most people, that would have been the end, because isolation isn't quiet. It's brutal. It echoes. It magnifies every fear. It turns your own mind into a crowded battlefield. But then there's you. Imagine this. A room where the walls close in on everyone else, but for you, the silence becomes a forge. The loneliness becomes a mirror. The emptiness becomes a classroom. While others end up talking to walls, you ended up talking to the truth. You became your own witness, your own judge, your own entire court system. Nobody could twist your story anymore because you were the only one left holding it, and you held it with steady hands. When they removed everyone from your side, they forgot you were the one person they could never remove from yourself. At this point, a chosen one usually asks, why did it have to get this lonely? Why did the universe let everyone fall away? Here's the answer they hate. Because isolation wasn't a punishment, it was the filter. It stripped away the noise. It exposed who was real and who was decoration. It forced you to hear your own voice without interruption. It revealed strength you didn't even know you had. Imagine a sculptor chipping away everything that isn't the final statue. Isolation chipped away everything that wasn't the real you. You didn't just survive isolation, you expanded in it. You built yourself from the inside out. You became someone who doesn't need validation to know the truth. Someone who doesn't fold when left alone. Someone who became untouchable because you learned how to stand when nobody was standing with you. They left you alone, thinking it would finish you, but all it did was remove their influence from your evolution. This is why you're still on your feet when others aren't. This is why you walk with clarity while they walk with guilt. This is why your enemies panic when they hear your silence, because they know you came out of isolation with a power they can't manipulate anymore. They tried to erase your support system. You built a whole new world inside yourself. And now they have to face the version of you that grew in the dark, the version they never expected to survive. The version that doesn't need anyone's permission to rise. Number 4, when their fake love froze you out and you still built your own fire. They didn't love you, they rationed affection like a punishment and expected you to starve. The cold didn't break you, it broke them to realize you learned how to stay warm without them. Here's the part that hits your enemies right in the center of their ego. They didn't just mistreat you, they used affection like a trap, a reward, a leash. They gave you drops of warmth just to keep you hopeful, then slammed the door shut whenever you reached for more. It wasn't love, it was manipulation with a heartbeat. And most people who go through this walk away with scars that follow them for decades. Abandonment wounds, panic responses, attachment patterns that feel like chains. But you adapted in a way they never predicted. Imagine this, being handed a tiny flame in a freezing room, and every time you try to warm your hands, someone snatches it away. Most people shiver until they collapse, but you learned to build your own fire from scratch. You learned that your heart doesn't depend on their warmth to beat. You learned that emotional starvation doesn't kill someone who knows how to feed themselves from within. They froze you out, thinking you'd beg for heat. Instead, you became the sun. A chosen one usually wonders here, why did they use affection as a weapon? Why did they act warm one day and ice cold the next? Here's the truth they hope you never figure out. They needed you dependent. They needed you insecure. They needed you chasing something they had no intention of giving. But the universe watched you evolve past the manipulation. Bit by bit, you stopped reacting to the scraps they tossed your way. You stopped letting their coldness define your worth. You stopped bending just to stay close to someone who couldn't even offer the bare minimum of emotional safety. Imagine standing in a snowstorm with no coat, then realizing the fire inside your chest burns hotter than anything they could ever offer you. That was your turning point. That was the moment their weapons stopped working. What was supposed to weaken you ended up unlocking your self-control. You didn't crumble under the emotional winter they created. You adjusted, your heart recalibrated. You learned to warm yourself without needing their approval, their attention, or their fake tenderness. And now, they're the ones freezing, because they see a version of you they never prepared for, someone who doesn't chase affection, doesn't cling, doesn't collapse when love is withheld. Someone who knows that love isn't supposed to hurt. Someone who understands that the cold taught them more than the warmth ever did. They weaponized affection, but you turned the entire battlefield around. You adapted to the cold, you built your own warmth, and now you stand in a place where their emotional games can't reach you anymore, not even with their sharpest winter. Number 5. When they built a no-win maze for you, and you walked out with the whole map on fire. They didn't give you choices, they gave you traps and acted shocked when you stopped playing. A double bind only works on someone who still believes the game is fair. Here's the part that makes the enemy choke on their own tactics. They didn't just pressure you, they boxed you into psychological corners where every door was rigged. The famous double bind, the mind cage. The no-win scenario designed to make you doubt yourself no matter what you did. Stay and you were weak. Leave and you were selfish. Speak up and you were dramatic. Stay quiet and you were agreeing. Imagine this, a maze with no exit. Every hallway looks different, but all of them loop back into the same room. Confusion, guilt, shame. Most people get stuck wandering those invisible corridors for years, replaying decisions they never really had control over. That's why so many people freeze under double binds. The situation is engineered so the victim feels like the villain no matter what they choose. But you didn't just escape the maze, you burned it to the ground. At this point, a chosen one usually asks, why did they set me up like that? Why make every option look wrong? Because a trapped person is easier to break. Because a confused person is easier to redirect. Because a blamed person is easier to silence. Double binds aren't about choices. They're about control. Here's what they miscalculated. They thought your mind would fold under impossible decisions. They underestimated your ability to think above the situation instead of inside it. They didn't expect you to question the structure of the problem itself. They didn't expect you to realize the choices weren't choices at all, just psychological weapons dressed up as options. Imagine stepping back from the maze and seeing the whole blueprint from above, like the universe tilted the angle so you could finally see the trick. That moment of clarity, that's when everything collapsed. That's when the traps lost their power. That's when you stopped responding to manipulation and started responding to truth. You didn't pick the right door. You realized the building was fake. And when you walked away, they panicked, because suddenly the rules they built didn't apply to you anymore. Suddenly, their accusations bounced off. Suddenly, your silence wasn't compliance, it was strategy. Suddenly, your voice wasn't dramatic, it was accurate. Suddenly, leaving wasn't selfish, it was survival. The double binds didn't trap you, they revealed you. They showed that your mind doesn't break under pressure, it sharpens. They showed that unfair choices don't make you freeze, they make you question the whole system. They showed that someone who sees through manipulation cannot be manipulated. Others are still wandering those hallways, replaying the logic, trying to figure out where they went wrong. But you walked through the ashes of that maze like someone who realized the whole thing was built to keep you small. And you're not small anymore. You outgrew the trap. You outgrew the controller, and now the only one stuck in the maze is the person who built it. Number 6. When their pain was meant to poison you, but you drank it and walked away stronger. They fed you poison expecting you to die. You turned it into muscle. The pain didn't shape you, you shaped it. Let's talk about the part of your story that should have ended you, the part most people still can't wrap their heads around. You didn't just endure emotional torture, You digested it, not because you liked it, not because you wanted to be strong, but because you had no other option but evolution. What they used as a weapon, you turned into fuel. What they meant to break you, you used as training. What they hoped would destroy you became the very thing that rebuilt you. Imagine this: everyone else is choking on the smoke, collapsing under the toxicity, while you inhale it and somehow walk out breathing clearer than before. Not because you're numb, but because your system adapted faster than their attacks, evolved. They threw manipulation like darts. You treated it like morning coffee. They handed you betrayal like a meal. You turned it into data. At this point, you might ask yourself, how did I survive what crushed others? Here's the real answer. The universe didn't make you immune. You built your immunity through repetition, reflection, and raw will. Each emotional hit sharpened your perception. Each lie trained your instincts. Each betrayal refined your radar. You became someone who can taste the truth hiding behind any lie. You learned to detect deception faster than they could deploy it. You learned the aftertaste of artificial love, that weird mix of sweetness and rot. You learned the micro-signs of manipulation, the pause before the lie, the tone shift, the sudden mood change. Imagine a blade being dragged across stone, over and over. The stone screams. The blade only gets sharper. That was you. You didn't enjoy the pain. You weren't built for it. You simply refused to let it destroy you. Now the thing meant to weaken you, made you impossible to break. Number 7. The system that tried to break you only built a weapon it can't control. They didn't raise you, they engineered you, and now they're terrified of the final product. You weren't shaped by kindness, you were sharpened by pressure. Let's get real, chosen one. Whatever system you grew up in, family, environment, relationships, the whole messy blueprint, it wasn't designed to nurture you. It was designed to crush you, contain you, or turn you into something obedient. But the joke is on them, because the pressure didn't break you. It revealed what you're really made of. Imagine this: a metal forged at temperatures meant for destruction, only to come out harder than anything that touched it. That's you. The disappointments from your childhood weren't lessons. They were weight training. Every betrayal wasn't a scar. It was a callus forming over the parts of you that needed armor. Your darkness became night vision. You learned to see in emotional conditions that would blind anyone else. You didn't heal. You upgraded. This is the part that scares people. You process pain at a speed that makes psychologists tilt their heads. Every betrayal gave you new instincts, new predictive skills, new defense systems. You weren't bouncing back. You were recalibrating. Emotional shutdowns weren't failures. They were factory resets. Each return wasn't a comeback. It was a new version of you. Imagine being rebuilt so many times that your body remembers every weld, every crack, every realignment, and still moves with more precision than before. That's why your enemies can't understand you now. Yes, you're upright, but not in the shape they expected. Yes, you're functional, but your function changed. You're alive, just not in any form they know how to deal with. You don't stand tall. You stand inevitable. You survived your own breaking point. Then you survived the version of you that came after it. Now the universe watches the system that built you shake, knowing it accidentally created someone unstoppable. Number 8. You're the glitch that makes their whole system crash. They didn't fear losing control of you. They feared realizing they never had it. You're not unpredictable. You're just operating on a level their theories don't reach. Let's cut straight into the part of your story that makes psychologists, manipulators, narcissists, and every self-proclaimed mind expert sweat. You're the anomaly, the outlier, the one case that ruins their clean little charts and ruins their formulas. You terrify people not because you're dangerous, but because you prove that the psychological weapons that destroy most humans barely scratch someone like you. Imagine a machine built to break weak structures, and the moment it hits you, the machine jams. That's what you are to them, the glitch in their system, the variable that wasn't supposed to exist. They tried to dismantle you using textbook tactics. Push fear here, trigger insecurity there, cue guilt, cue shame, cue confusion. They thought you'd collapse like everyone else. But while they were busy pressing buttons, you were rewriting your entire operating system. They were hacking your software. You were upgrading the hardware. Their tactics weren't weak. You just evolved faster than their playbook. They threw poison, you metabolized it, they lied, you extracted data, they manipulated, you learned the pattern. You didn't just endure psychological warfare, you turned every attack into research, every betrayal into analytics, every emotional hit into a blueprint. Imagine having enzymes that break down betrayal like it's protein. Imagine digesting manipulation and absorbing the truth it was meant to hide. Imagine turning emotional waste into fuel. That's you. Chaos stopped scaring you because you stopped drowning in it. You started mapping it. While others freeze in emotional storms, you see structure. While others panic, you analyze. While others react, you predict. You read micro-expressions like evidence, you listen to tone like data, you navigate emotional minefields with the calm precision of someone who already walked through worse. You don't sense manipulation because you're paranoid. You sense it because you've mastered the blueprint of human behavior. This is what makes you dangerous to them. You don't fall for tricks they haven't even tried yet. You see intentions forming before the words appear. You recognize patterns before they complete. You're not guessing, you're informed. You're trained by experience no classroom could ever teach. You are the anomaly their theories fear, the glitch that exposes their entire system, the exception that destroys their entire model, the proof that the human spirit can evolve into something they cannot predict or control. You didn't just survive the psychological war. You became the one thing every manipulator prays they never meet. Someone they cannot outthink, cannot break, and cannot use. You are inevitable. Number 9, you're not a survivor anymore. You're the upgrade they never saw coming. They thought resilience meant bouncing back. You didn't bounce. You rebuilt yourself into something their language doesn't have words for. You didn't escape the fire. You let it rewrite the blueprint of who you are. Let's make something painfully clear. What happened to you didn't create a survivor. It created a new category of human resilience, the kind that breaks every model, every chart, every outdated psychological definition. You're not here because you got lucky. You're here because you became a psychological alloy, forged by pressure, strengthened by subtraction, shaped by everything you lost and everything you refused to let destroy you. Imagine metal mixed with something rare, something unexpected, something the original designers never tested for. That's you, stronger because of what was added, unbreakable because of what was taken away. You didn't dodge arrows, you took them, examined them, and learned their flight path. You didn't avoid the flames, you let them burn off every version of you that wasn't built for the future. You're not healing, you're mutating. Most people recover by returning to who they were. You evolved by leaving that version in the ashes. That's why they can't categorize you. You don't fit their labels, their theories, or their expectations. Every time they try to place you in a box, you outgrow it. Every time they try to predict you, you switch frequencies. Imagine walking out of the fire and realizing your DNA isn't just healed, it's rewritten. Your instincts are sharper, your boundaries are clearer, your perception is upgraded. You're not rebuilding your old reality, you're constructing a new one, governed by rules they've never seen and will never master. They can't stop what you're becoming, because what you're becoming has never existed before. And finally, chosen one. You made it through every truth, every scar, every evolution that was never supposed to be survivable. You're not standing by accident. You're standing because nothing built to break you ever worked. And if this message hit you even a little, press the like button right now. And if you're still not part of our family, make sure to subscribe so you never face this journey alone again. The universe is watching you rise, and trust me, this is only the beginning of what you're becoming.